Hello everyone, I'm Aaron Schatz, Editor-in-Chief of ASE Publishing, and today we're finally getting to take a look at the Synology DS415 Plus. This is review ID 50714. You can check out this and all our reviews by going to www.aselabs.com. By the way, you're watching this right now on YouTube, right? Hit that subscribe button in one of these corners, you'll be informed of all our video content. Let's get into this thing. The DS415 Plus is slightly different than the reviews that we've done in the past. We've done 2-bay models. This is a 4-bay model, meaning you get 4 drive bays. And unlike, the smaller units, this one supports not just mirror or striping, but RAID 5, it can do RAID 6, hybrid RAID. So basically, let's take a look at here. The front part just comes off. By the way, if you haven't seen the unboxing, I'll put a link right here for you. So you can click that and see the entire unboxing. We went through taking out and everything, so you can check the unboxing for everything, but I'll just do it real quick for you. The drives are actually numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. This little doohickey slides down here, push, push, and then you pull out. And you can see mine is loaded with 3 terabyte hard drives from Seagate. Slide that puppy back in there. And you can pop this thing right back in here. And that's good to go. The Synology DS415 Plus is targeted at small and medium-sized businesses. So with the extra drive capacity, you also get a speed increase. This has a much faster CPU, much more RAM, and basically has a lot more oomph to actually do any kind of serving that you would need on your network. So yeah, it's a network-attached storage device, but it also could serve applications, it could do a whole bunch of other things. Remember, the Synology software is like the brains of the actual hardware itself. And Synology makes an excellent package, which we'll go into in a little bit later. I'm going to flip the unit around, just show you the back. So the back has 2 fans, they're very quiet. 2 Ethernet ports. I believe they are 1 gigabit each, and they are aggregated if you connect both of them. So meaning you can get double the throughput. It's not really double, but you know what I mean. Link aggregation never works exactly like, oh, I'm doubling my throughput. It never works that way. You get 2 USB 3.0 ports, an ECRLATA port, the power, and the lock adapter. So you can actually put, like, one of those laptop locks that nobody has anymore. Yeah, you can do that. And that's basically the back. Taking a look back at the front, you see all the indicator lights right here. The actual singular thing you can do with this unit is basically turn it on and turn it off from the front. And then the status indicators here. Basically things to let you know if a drive is going bad and stuff like that. You can also use the software to do that too. It can give you alerts and stuff. One thing I do like about Synology is that their software is jam-packed with features. Features that you probably may never use, but when you do, you'll appreciate that they're there. With that being said, I think it's time we hooked this to the network, went on the computer, and showed you the brand new Synology software, the new DSM version that came out along with this sort of stuff. Now, generally, I don't like to review additional types of products if they use the same software because there's nothing really new. It's like, great, you just gave me a little bit faster and maybe some extra drive bays. But no, I like to review things when there's new software, and there's new software out, so now we're going to check it out, and I'm telling you, it's good. But you should still watch the rest of the review. Now we are looking at the login screen for the 415 Plus, and as you can see, I already have it set up. It is updated to the latest software, DSM 5.2, latest as of this week, as you can see from right here. And we're going to go ahead and log in. So the help comes up automatically. You can always disable that. I am too lazy to actually disable it. But here's my setup. Once I set everything up, I don't even bother going into it anymore. But let's go into all of the details of the new stuff, at least the pertinent ones. So we're going to start off with the control panel, obviously. Oh, by the way, you could see that each version of Synology's DSM software is pretty much getting more and more like a typical operating system look. So you can drag your windows and all that whatnot. That happened in older versions, but you can see that you're steadily progressing to actually do like more and more desktop style controls. Let's go into, well, I think this is laid out a little bit funky. I think the users and groups should be first. So when you're actually doing this for the first time, you should make sure that depending on how you actually want to set up your network application server, you should enable or disable the guest user. And since this is on my home network, I have the guest user enabled, so I don't have to log in with every computer for sharing files and whatnot. So if you want to do like basically unfettered access, enable the guest account. That's how that works. You can also do the same with groups. So you can actually have a group for all your users, dump everybody into the user group, and assign permissions by the group itself. You should move back into the shared folders. Now homes is very interesting. So if you have multiple users on the actual disk station, they can each get their own home directory when they actually access the actual server itself over Samba or something. So that's very interesting. You also need to enable homes if you want to enable Cloud Station backup. And you should, because it's pretty awesome. We'll go more into that later. But this is a screen where you can create shares. You basically go in, name the share, tell it the volume, and all the other knickknacks in here. Same as the other stuff. Basically, you just make a share, boom, good to go. You can also enable or disable Windows File Service, which is Samba, the Mac File Service, or NFS. Here's where you can also do FTP, TFTP, or WebDAV. All can be enabled or disabled depending on your needs. So remember, this is targeted towards small and medium businesses. So they might have a need for WebDAV or FTP or even NFS, which I don't understand why people use anymore, but still. If you want to actually join a domain, you can actually do that as well. So if you had an LDAP domain or an Active Directory domain, you'd be able to do that in here. See, you can have it act as a client, and you can also act it as a server too, for single sign-on. See? Now, Quick Connect. You can actually register an account on Synology's Quick Connect service. Basically, it allows you just put in an ID and then have everything set up. But since we're all technology oriented here, we don't do that. So for external access, you can enable dynamic DNS, you can have it connect to the router automatically and do everything. But again, since we're technology oriented, we don't do that. We'll do it manually. But if you wanted to, it's here. Now, on your network, you can name it however you want. Of course, I name mine ASE 415P. Default gateway is whatever your network is going to be, and it has other options for networking. You can see that I am connected with the primary NIC on the device. You can actually use the secondary one as well and bond them together. By the way, bonding means that you can actually like push traffic over both of them. So theoretically, you should get double the throughput, but in reality, you might not. You can also set up static routes and other traffic settings. Here's where you can also change the actual default port for logging into the actual disk station. Now, if you have the web service enabled, you're going to have to use this port listed in here. Moving on to the wireless, if I actually had a USB Wi-Fi adapter, the actual disk station can be pumped over wireless as well. But again, this is a small, medium-sized business kind of product. I don't expect people to be using Wi-Fi with it. So we'll move on. But if you have the home units, the software is the same. So this is how you would actually set it up. Security. Now, this is general security. It's not like, more, you would want to enable that in the permissions and stuff. But this can have, firewall on it if you want. It can enable DOS protection, which is actually pretty interesting. It can auto-block login attempts, for instance, if you're on a network and you don't trust a lot of people, that kind of stuff. You could also put actual certificates on here for SSL. All good stuff. Now, let's see some information about the unit that I'm running right now. It is a Intel Atom C2538, 4 cores, right? 2.4 gigahertz, 2 gigs of RAM. This is no slouch. This is a pretty good general purpose computer. It just so happens that it's running a NAS, and that's it. Now, it's NTP, and of course I have my time zone set wrong, but that's okay. We'll fix that later. Much later. You can see that my network settings are all good. Storage, I'm at 19% here of an 8 terabyte volume. 8 terabyte, yeah. So I got 4 3 gig drives in here. So that's 12, right? But it doesn't work that way. One is being taken up by Synology's hybrid RAID, and then, of course, even though they're 3 terabytes, what a hard drive considers a terabyte is different from what most people consider a terabyte. So there you go. So the services, here's where you enable and disable the services. And as you can see, I have most of them enabled, except for, you know, the ones I don't want. And this is where you can actually share your experience with Synology for improving their software. Yeah, you can do that if you want. Here's where I picked my login style when you saw in the beginning. This is where we set the time, so we might as well go do that right now. Eastern. Okay. Language. Network time. Now, if you have media on your NAS, this can index everything. This can also do photos, videos, and audio files. And it's actually really cool because if you have DLNA devices, they'll play them from the actual NAS, which I use a lot. If you want to convert them, like for instance if you have photos, you can actually have thumbnails. And here's where you set up the indexing. So obviously photos go for photos, videos go to video, music goes to music. This is where you want to set up notifications. You can set up push notifications, SMS, and other things. Let's say you want to be notified when like a drive goes bad. You could do that in here. You could schedule tasks like an automatic update task or other tasks. Like for instance, you can have a user-defined script, meaning I can make a script on the device to do whatever it needs to. I could set it to beep every 5 minutes if I wanted to. We can enable wake up on LAN and a whole bunch of other cool stuff in here too. Now remember, if the thing beeps at you, you probably want to check it out. So, this is important. Make sure to restart automatically after a power failure is on, because if not, it'll just be off, and that's kind of a pain. You can hibernate the hard drives, but most people, if this is on a network, it's going to be, you'll probably never hibernate anyway. And here's where external devices show up. Like for instance, if I had an ECRL ATA hard drive in here, it would show up in here. This is where you actually update the software in here. And basically you just go to here, it'll tell you if it's up to date. If it's not, you hit a button here and it will just update itself. Now, generally I still recommend making sure your data is backed up before you do any kind of update, but I haven't seen any time where my data was corrupted on an update. But it doesn't mean it can't happen, so just make sure that, you know, if you're going to do an update, especially a major version, that your data is backed up somewhere else, just in case. You can also back up the entire configuration. So let's say you want to actually port this over to a bigger NAS, a bigger Synology NAS. This is how you would do that. You can also reset this to factory settings, erasing everything. So you probably don't want to do that unless you're selling it. Then you want to do that. So, moving on. Applications in the control panel. You can enable the web station, which basically means it's a little tiny web server. It does PHP. We've seen that in the past. Here's where you enable privileges for each of the applications. So for instance, if I go to surveillance station, I can view the permissions right here. And then I'd be able to see what I can do, right? For instance, admin and myself can do everything. Guest can't do anything. You have to actually log in to do that stuff. Live view can do some things. Really, live view is I only made it for surveillance station, but you get the idea. And these are where, if you add additional applications, you can actually change the options and stuff. So here's where you actually set some application-specific options. And you can enable SSH on the box if you need to. Remember, it's like a general-purpose computer. You can get shell access, do whatever you want. It's your computer, your box. You can do whatever you want. Root access is all given. See? Password to log in, same as the admin account. That gives you root access. Boom. Do whatever you want on the device. Let's move on to see what we have in here. I'm going to jump right into the cloud station. Now, it also supports Quick Connect, which I don't use. It also supports privileges, and you can see that I enabled on my Aaron Schatz account, which I have to actually log in to show you right now. So, whoops. Log out of this. Now we'll log into here. Cloud Station operates on a user basis. Go away. Go away. Now, if I go into Cloud Station on my account, I will show you I'm connected right now because it's backing up everything. It'll show you a log of whatever it's backing up, and you could see all the versions in here. So this is a pretty cool thing. So basically, it'll store about, I think I have it set to 32 versions of a file. So for instance, if I go into videos, right, and you can see all my Let's Play stuff in here. Now, I have a lot of stuff that's been deleted as well. So if I go all the way to the end, see all these deleted folders? They're already backed up. So I could theoretically go in and restore them if I wanted to. I already moved them to the to actually this box for longer term storage, so I didn't need to keep it on my computer, but you could see that it's storing it. So if I really wanted to, I could actually click this and then restore it, and it'll restore it on my actual computer. I can also do that with the entire folder or what have you. So this will store up to 32 versions. You can set it to more. So yeah, to me, it's a great versioning backup system. And for people that are screwing up a lot of things, like for instance, if you know a lot of people in businesses, there's always this one person that will just delete files by accident and be like, oh, I also cleared my recycling bin or what have you, so now the file's gone. This would be great because this will save them. This will save them. And you also have those other people that will edit a file and then save over it, and they're like, oh crap, I didn't want to do that. So this will actually this will help both of those use cases out. I love this thing, I really do. Ever since that, I stopped using Backup PC, which was really nice for all intents and purposes, but it was a pain to set up. And since this is supported by Synology and it has client applications, it just works. It integrates really nicely with any desktop manager. It works with Linux, Windows, and Mac, so good to go. Here's where you have to enable the homes. If this is not enabled, Cloud Station will not work. By the way, in the Cloud Station software, you can actually tell it what type of files that you don't want to back up, what type of files you do want to back up. So for instance, I'm not backing up any configuration files and stuff, like any hidden files. I don't need to do that. You can also, for instance, if you're running Steam, you could tell it not to back up your Steam directory since you don't need to do that anyway. But yeah, I do like Cloud Station a lot. It's really good. Now again, some people say it's not backup. They're partially right. For instance, if you get buried down into longer than 32 versions of a file, you're losing that file. But for all intents and purposes, for the majority of people, it's a backup solution, and it's a good one. I wouldn't worry about it. That being said, storing all your eggs in one basket, not a good idea. you should probably back up to Amazon Glacier or something, which this can do. But let me log out of here, back into the other account. Okay, download station. This really hasn't changed. It's the same thing. You can see I was, that's old. Let's get rid of that. We've got the major version of Kubuntu now. So, but basically you could just add a task. It'll start downloading BitTorrent, pretty much all major protocols now. Very useful. Most of my torrent downloads I put on here, which are basically just Linux distributions, but still. If you want to update any of the actual software running on the Disk Station Manager, this is how you do it. You can also explore additional pieces of software in here. So for instance, you know, they have antivirus by McAfee, a whole bunch of other stuff. So you could just check this out. If you like Git servers, an iTunes server, Logitech Media Server, you can install Java Manager, which is great. And a whole bunch of other stuff. And if you wanted to, you can make your own if you have the tech-savvy knowledge. Now, this is great stuff, and honestly, like most of the stuff that's built in is pretty much the stuff you're going to use. So you can also, you know, drill down into each of the actual things. It's just like an application center like every operating system has nowadays. If you want to update, boom, hit update all. Probably shouldn't have did that while I was doing this, but we'll just let it do its thing. So as that's updating, I will move on. Photo Station has not really changed. If you have photos on the device, drop them in the Photos directory, and basically this will show you all the photos with nice thumbnails, and you can group them, you can set them into albums. Honestly, most people are using Google Drive or Google Photos nowadays or what have you, so you know, this is really nice on an internal network if you don't want to put your photos on the internet. But generally, most people are probably sharing their photos on some other thing. Video Station is basically the same thing, but for videos. And honestly, both of these are supported over DLNA. So for instance, if you have like a Western Digital TV box, it could actually grab the content from the server over DLNA, which is very useful. The other big thing that I really like about Synology products is the Surveillance Station. You get a full-fledged NVR with this, and the new Surveillance Station is really nice looking. Let's take a look at my cameras. So you can see that I'm looking out the window of my house. And this one's a PTZ. This is the D-Link camera that I reviewed a couple weeks or months ago. And the front door one is right there. It's like peeking under something. I didn't want to put the cameras outside because I don't have any. It's hard to. I just couldn't. I'll just leave it at that. And here's the top view of the outdoors. So basically, I set this out because one time I had a delivery, and somebody stole the package off my porch, and that really annoyed me. So now I know when people come and drops things off, and I'll know if they steal it. If I go to a timeline, I can actually see, for instance, if I go to top outside, I'll be able to see like specific events, like for instance, actually let's go to the front door. See if anything happened. See, I have the thing set so the rustling of this fig tree might actually cause some stuff to happen. But generally, you'll see like a person walking by or something. Just not in this case. But regardless, it does work. And it works well. I've seen when people drop off packages and stuff. And you can get alerts for that too. Here's where you set up the IP cameras. And apparently the front door it keeps disconnecting. I think the camera's starting to go bad, but we're not worried about that. The other two are up and running. By the way, this supports the open standards. So if you have a camera that supports ONVIF, I think that's how you pronounce it, it'll work there. Here's where you see all the recordings that are in here. And you can see that I have a bunch. But basically, this is a fully fledged NVR, and it's actually much better than most of the other NVRs that I used when I was working way back in the security industry. Seriously, like, this is fully fledged. It works. You can put many, many cameras on here, and the storage is pretty much whatever the storage you have on the actual NAS itself. So it's really, really nice product. I really enjoy what they did with the surveillance station, and it really sets this thing apart versus other things that have it's sort of an NVR. This is a fully fledged NVR, and I really like this. Now, moving on. One of my buddies is actually setting up the Synology NAS in a high availability manner. So basically, if you had two of the same Synology NASs, you can actually just put them in high availability mode, meaning one will take over for the other one if something failed. So this is how you would do that here. Hopefully, we're going to get a guide on how to do that in a later article. But for now, just know that if you have two of them, you could set up both of them in a high availability manner. Let's just see the drives in here. So we got 4 3-terabyte drives, and 3 terabytes apparently equals 2.73 terabytes. And they are set up in, let's see if I can show you, where is it? Nope. I don't set up any hot spares. They're set up as hybrid RAID. Basically, it's like RAID 5, but you can actually grow the actual array pretty easily, and that's what it's designed for. So, for instance, I can actually add another drive if it had another drive bay. But like I said, if you could start with 1 drive, you could start with 2, whatever, and then keep growing as you need. You don't have to add all the drives at once. You can also have multiple volumes as well. Moving on, like I said, this is acting like an operating system, so you get a text editor, so I can actually, edit text files in here. If you see, here's the file structure for the NAS itself. Home directory shows all the cloud station stuff. For me, since I'm logged in as admin right now, I don't have anything as admin. But if you look at homes, and you look at me, and you look at cloud station, then you see everything there. See? So that's pretty cool. That's what the homes directory is for. If you look at surveillance, you can see where all the stuff from the surveillance is kept. Video, all my public share, all this good stuff over here. Photos, you can see where I saved all my photography stuff. I got nothing in music right now, because whatever. But otherwise, the software is really the brains of the Synology product, and they keep doing a spectacular job of really giving you a total package. And pairing this software up with this level of hardware, really, it screams. For instance, if I did a copy to this right now, over one network connection on gigabit, I was pushing 60 megabits a second, 60 megabytes a second. That's pretty phenomenal over one single network connection, and taking into account overhead and stuff. 60 megabytes a second. I'll tell you, on the older 2-bay model, I was struggling to push 20 megs a second. Really, really good stuff. Synology is doing a really excellent job. All the updates you get, like for instance, the older models still get this level of software. Now, granted, some of the stuff might not work in it because it might not be supported, it might not be fast enough, but Synology is the company that actually supports their products really all the way down the line. And if you're buying something like this, you should expect great support, and that's what you get with Synology. So with that, I think we've seen enough of the Synology software for now. We're going to move back and then reposition the camera and take it from there. As you've seen, I really, really like the Cloud Station backup. Now, some people may say it's not a backup, and they're kind of right, but if you pair the Cloud Station syncing with some sort of off-site backup, there you go. There's your backup solution. For instance, I'm going to start using Amazon Glacier to actually back up my disk station, my whole drive on the disk station. So every day or so, every once a week, what have you, I'll dump everything to Glacier and I'll be totally good to go. That's my offsite backup. If I lose anything, I can get it from Glacier. Great. If I delete stuff on my computer that I need, I can get it back immediately because it's on here. So I already have the disk station set up to store, I believe, 20 versions of files. So if I need to go back to a different version, I got 20 of them to pick from. So really, really good stuff. In the past, I actually used Backup PC, which was this, I think it was Python, and it basically did all the stuff on its own to go out and back up a client computer and stuff. But with the actual client software that Synology gives you, I don't see the need for it anymore. In fact, I like the cloud backup, and you know what? You got your own cloud right here. No reason to actually worry about going off on the internet. That being said, again, I recommend offsite backups, which you could do Glacier or Dropbox, whatever storage you want to use. Now let's talk about cost. The DS415 Plus, I remind you again, is targeted towards small and medium businesses, so it's going to have a slightly higher cost. But with that, you get much faster CPU, much more RAM, basically much more capabilities for a network. So for instance, if you're on a home network, you might not need this unless you need the 4 drive bays. But generally, you probably don't. So you probably get away with a two drive bay, and if you want it mirrored, you can probably get a couple 4 terabyte drives, be good to go. This bad boy retails for about $600, diskless. If you want to add your own storage, go for it. If you want to, have it come with storage, that's also an option. You're going to probably spend, I think it was $1,100 or $1,200 for 3 terabyte drives in each. So it's not a cheap thing in every sense of the word. What I would consider it is an excellent value for the money, especially for the market that it's targeting. Remember, small and medium businesses. If I'm a medium business, I can get one of these instead of getting like a giant server that costs probably double or triple the amount. And this will do everything I need to. Most people need some type of file storage, or like departments that need, basically passing forward big files and stuff all over the place. They drop it on here, boom, good to go. You want to back up a whole bunch of computers, syncing them, boom, good to go. You want to have a little web server, boom, good to go. You want to actually have a network video recorder, right there. Everything is all in one unit. It's really, really remarkable stuff what we can do right now with these little boxes that, basically this is a general purpose computer just in a non-general purpose form. So remember, it's running an x86 processor, it's got 2 gigs of RAM, it's a computer. It's a general purpose computer, just in a slightly different form factor. ASE Labs and ASE Publishing would like to thank Synology for sending this product for review. You can check out links on ASE Labs and this review right now that you're watching for links to purchase this product from various merchants. Remember, you can get a couple different variants. One is the diskless model, and it's the one I suggest getting because you can add your own storage. So if you get the diskless model, which is about $600 at the time of this review, you can add 1, 2, 3, 4 drives at once. You don't have to do all 4 at once. So you get that kind of flexibility as well. For ASE Labs and ASE Publishing, I'm Aaron Schatz, and thank you for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button. You'll be informed of all our video reviews. And I still have no idea where it's located. It's either here or it's here. Eventually I'll figure it out. But you know what? You can also hit that comment button. Leave me some feedback. Love to hear from you. And yes, I know it took a while for this review to come out, but there's a very good reason for it. Right behind me. See how this wall is nice and painted now? It took a very long time to paint this wall. The benefits of owning your own house. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.